Hey everybody, welcome to Hope is Not a Tactic. I'm your host, Lieutenant Joe Pangaro, and this is the School Safety and Security Show. Now, a lot of topics we talk about here are relative to any building where you want to keep people safe, but I concentrate on kids in schools. All right, so let's cover first who's our sponsor here. Big sponsor is RiotTint.com. Riot Tint makes an amazing product for your glass. It's a safety glazing, amazing products, amazing people. I've seen lots of them, and I offer Riot Tint to everybody I know. That's why I asked them to be on the show here with us. RiotTint.com. Check it out. Blue 360 Media. They are my publisher of all my investigative related books, soon going into school safety and security stuff. And number three, in New Jersey, medicalessentialdiagnostics.com. They are for any government worker, state, local, federal, county, municipal, everybody, first responders. You can get a free, well, I don't want to say free. They don't like when I say free. When I say it's no cost to you, medical exam for you and two people in your family over age of 18 to make sure there's nothing wrong, right? So medicalessentialdiagnostics.com, excellent company. All of our sponsors are great. Check them out. All right, so what do I want to talk about today? In the world of school safety and security, we cover not just dangers like active shooters and violent people. That's of course that's a big thing we talk about today. But I just saw something in the news again, and it was a hazing incident that took place, and 11 young men were arrested and charged with kidnapping. They had done a hazing incident to the freshman boys that were coming on to this team. I think it was lacrosse. And they said, "Hey, fellas, we're all going to go to McDonald's. Let's go. We're going to hop in a car." So, of course, you're the young freshmen. Here's the seniors and the juniors, and they want to all do stuff on the team. It seems decent, right? Good idea. So they jump into cars. But instead of going to McDonald's, they drive to a desolate area where they stop the car, and some guys come out of the woods. They got reported maybe they had a gun. Maybe it was an airsoft gun, a real one, not a real one. They didn't get into that. But there was a knife, I believe, and these kids all had masks on. And they scared these kids to death. And the kids went running. One kid couldn't get away, and they tied him up and they put him in the trunk of the car and rode around. When the police found out about this, they did an investigation and they arrested 11 kids and charged them with kidnapping because of a hazing incident. And I have to tell you, I'm shocked that we still see hazing going on. So one of the things that I've talked about before when I talked about hazing is I said I had an article. And here's the article I wrote. It was in Campus Safety Magazine. It was in a couple different places. And it's called Hazing in the Locker Room. And the bottom line with all of this is it talks about the history of these things and why they happen. But I think the most important things is that I give you some ideas of things you should put in place in your policy, your procedure, however you're going to do it, so that you can try and prevent these things from happening. Because apparently people getting locked up, kids dying, kids getting seriously injured is not enough to stop these things. And as school personnel, it's your job to pay attention to them and to make sure they don't happen in your school. All right, so when we have this locker room situation, now I played high school sports. I was in the locker room, and I know that, I've never been in a girls' locker room, but I've been in the boys' locker room quite a bit, And I know it can get rambunctious in there, and there can be fist fights in there. There can be arguments in there. You didn't tackle properly. You didn't do this proper, and then they argue with each other. But when that hazing happens, it's usually because it's done out of the eye of the people in charge, the adults who are supposed to watch them. So here's what I'm going to suggest: there always has to be a monitor in the room when these kids are in there. There always has to be somebody assigned in there. Now, I've seen some high schools when I do threat assessments and I go around, I talk about this. And I have seen some of them where the coach's office is right next to the locker room and they can hear what's going on in there. And some of them, they can see what's going on in there. They need to be physically present, right? Because if your physical presence is there, these kids aren't going to do stuff in the school. They still might be knuckleheads and do it out of the school, like these kids that got locked up. But the idea is you'll hear about it, you'll know about it. So make sure there's always a monitor around. Your coaches need specialized training. You need a specialized program at the beginning of every year, at least, if not twice a year, to remind everyone that hazing is real, hazing happens, and it's very bad when it does, right? So you want to go over what do you expect out of your coaching staff or any of the adults that are going to be with these kids to make sure this doesn't happen. Then you need to have a program for the kids on day one of the sporting program. Let them know you will not tolerate hazing. Now, I don't want to I don't want to be negative to anybody, but I know that I've seen this. This is a complaint. Maybe you don't hear, you don't think it happens in your place, but I've heard from lots of parents. If an athlete on the team that's a star athlete, the one who's going to bring the championship to the school, and that student does something, it's not looked at as harshly as if the other students did it. And the message that that sends is if you're special, if you're really good, you can get away with stuff, and that allows people to do things that they try to get away with. So the messaging you have to send to these students and to your staff and to your entire community, we will not stand for these things. If you misbehave, if you break the rules, there's even a plan for a hazing incident. Whoever, whether it's the fifth string left guard on the football team or it's the starting quarterback, if you're involved in these things, you will be removed from the team immediately, right? Not a 1 game suspension, half a game suspension, all this nonsense. The punishment has got to be so severe that these kids will think twice about doing these things. Because imagine now there's 11 parents who have children who have been charged with kidnapping. That's a very, very serious felony. Now, most of them are probably going to get probation. I can't imagine anyone's going to go to jail, but they're going to have that on their record when they go everywhere in their life. They're going to have that as they were involved in a kidnapping, right? Now, maybe there's some plea deal and you can work it out. The bottom line is it should not have happened. And what about the kid who was terrorized? All of those boys who were terrorized, but especially the kid put in the trunk of the car, right? This is something that hard to come back from. And that's why we keep looking at it. So the coaches should reach specialized training on hazing and ritualistic behaviors. They can be identified and stopped before things happen. Student athletes, parents, and guardians must also understand that these rules will be followed. And your kid, even if she is the starting softball player, if she's involved in these things, she's going to be removed from the team. Right. So I can't say that enough. I can't say that kind of thing enough because I have seen it. I've seen it in my own life that the starting kids always got better treatment. They didn't get in trouble. I've seen it in the newspaper reports of things that have happened. This kid got, and they were suspended from 2 games. 2 games. Well, that's because they're a starter. If they were a third string linebacker, they'd probably be thrown off the team. So you got to understand what are you doing, right? All of us needs to understand that these things, when they happen, they're dangerous. They're not good for the kids. They're not good for anybody. And how do you prevent it? You prevent it by being proactive, messaging, and sticking to your policy and procedure. All right. I want to thank you all for being here. Remember, we're all in this together. We want to keep our schools safe in every way possible.